Hi, hey, hello. My name is Melissa, but you can call me V. Welcome back to my very own slice of the internet. Today, I wanted to do a wrap up of all of the books I read in February, highlighting my favorite and my least favorite of the lot. Altogether, I read 9 books. First up, we've got The Deep by Rivers Solomon. The Deep is about a mermaid named Yetu. And Yetu is the descendant of enslaved pregnant African women who were thrown overboard en route to their destination. Now, Yetu is the memory holder for her entire people, her entire group of people, because everyone else can't take on the trauma, can't bear the trauma of the truth of their origins. So the role of memory holder was bestowed upon Yetu at a pretty young age. And the problem is the memories are destroying her. So in an effort to escape the memories, Yetu flees to the surface. And there she learns more than she bargained for about herself and her people. In order to survive as a people, they have to face these memories and the reality of who they are and where they came from. This was a 4 out of 5 for me. It probably would have been a straight 5, only it's a novella. And the problem with novellas is that I always want more. And I did. I wanted more from this story. I read 3 poetry collections in February, 2 of which are by the same author. So we've got She Is the Poem and Lavender Haze by June Bates. These are sapphic poetry collections that are about love and just life stuff. And they were both really relatable for me, which is one of the most important qualities that I look for in poetry. I've learned that I really need to feel like I relate to it in order for it to touch me. I gave them both 4 out of 5. Next, we have The Tradition by Jericho Brown. I really wanted to love this book. I picked it up on a recommendation from one of Allison Page's videos. And it sounded so promising, but it was a total miss for me. I couldn't relate. And while I did really enjoy the social issues that it tackled, it didn't make me feel anything. So this got a 2 out of 5 from me. Speaking of misses, out of the 3 graphic novels I read in February, 2 of them I loved, but unfortunately, the third one was a major miss for me. The one that just didn't do it for me was Sweet Tooth Volume 1 by Jeff Lemire, or Lemire, I don't know how to pronounce it. This graphic novel is set in a post-apocalyptic world where children are being born human-animal hybrids. These human-animal hybrids, however, are immune to this sickness that is killing the rest of the population. So these children are highly sought after and hunted so that they can perform experiments on them and try to figure out what makes them immune and how they can utilize that. We start off following this human deer hybrid child who is unnamed. He's never met anyone but his dad, and he's never been outside of the forest that he lives in. His cabin and his dad is all he's known all of his life. That all changes when his father catches the sickness and dies. And so without his father's protection, he's left in a vulnerable state, and he is rescued by this really big, gritty man named Jed. Jed promises to take him to safety at this reserve for the hybrid children where he would be safe, but things don't go exactly as planned. Netflix made a series based on this graphic novel that I watched when it first came out, before I even knew the novel was a thing. And I loved it, the series, so much. It was heartwarming in the sweetness between Jed and Sweet Tooth, the camaraderie. It made me happy. But their relationship isn't quite like that in the novel. And so the novel was a bit of a letdown for me. I didn't get any warm fuzzies reading this novel like I did with the Netflix adaptation. The relationship between the two fell flat for me. There was no depth. It didn't make me feel anything. There are a lot of religious tones in this novel that weren't in the Netflix series. Sweet Tooth's dad is a little bit of a Bible thumper, and that triggered a little bit of my, church trauma. And so I really wasn't into that, didn't appreciate that. So overall, I rated this a 2 out of 5. A graphic novel that I did love, however, was Aquacorn Cove by Kay O'Neill. Kay is the author who wrote The Tea Dragon Society, which I absolutely adore. Like, it's probably my favorite graphic novel that I have read in my life thus far. So that's why I decided to pick this up. It looked super cute. It kept getting recommended to me after I read The Tea Dragon Society. And so I had to pick it up, right? The thing that I really appreciated about this graphic novel was the sense of community and the highlighting of the importance of a symbiotic relationship between humans and the world around us. This was sweet, it was cute, it has sapphic elements, and it made my heart happy. However, it wasn't Tea Dragon Society. It didn't live up to the Tea Dragon Society standard for me, and ran pretty average. And so for Aquacorn Cove, I rated it a 3 out of 5. The last graphic novel I read was Susanna Walker and Wendy Zhu's Mooncakes. In this novel, our main characters are Nova, a super talented teenage witch, and Tam, a genderqueer werewolf. In this novel, the two of them team up to take on the dark forces that are after the werewolf. This was also very sweet. It was adorable, and it had sapphic elements. And you know how I feel about the sapphic elements. I'm all about it. The forest spirits stole my heart. The art style is gorgeous, and overall, is just very cozy. 5 out of 5. Definitely recommend. Now let's talk about my favorite and least favorite books I read in the month of February. My least favorite book was, ready? Gideon the Knife by Tira, what's her name? Tiramisu? Tiramisu? Tamsin Muir. Her name is Tamsin Muir. This book was a 1.5 out of 5 for me. This book was such a disappointment for me that I don't even want to expend the energy to give you my own summary of the book. I'm gonna read the description straight from Goodreads. The Emperor needs necromancers. The ninth necromancer needs a swordsman. Gideon has a sword, some dirty magazines, and no more time for undead nonsense. Tamsin Muir's Gideon the Knight unveils a solar system of swordplay, cutthroat politics, and lesbian necromancers. Her characters leap off the page as skillfully animated as arcane revenants. The result is a heart-pounding, epic science fantasy. If you hear that outside, can you hear it? I can hear it. Let's just ignore it. Let's just pretend like we don't hear it, okay? Okay, anyway, where was I? Brought up by unfriendly, ossifying nuns, ancient retainers, and countless skeletons, Gideon is ready to abandon a life of servitude and an afterlife as a reanimated corpse. She packs up her sword, her shoes, her dirty magazines, and prepares to launch her daring escape. But her childhood nemesis won't set her free without a service. Aroark, known as Genesis, Reverend Daughter of the Ninth House and Bone Witch Extraordinaire, has been summoned into action. The Emperor has invited the heirs to each of his loyal houses to a deadly trial of wits and skill. If Aroark succeeds, she will become an immortal, all-powerful servant of the resurrection. But no necromancer can ascend without their cavalier. Without Gideon's sword, Harrow will fall and the ninth house will die. Now, let's talk about why this book was such a disappointment for me. The ratings and reviews on Goodreads had me thinking this book was going to be phenomenal. Rick Riordan rated it a 5 out of 5. I thought that I was going to adore this book. Unfortunately, I just didn't. I am a sci-fi and fantasy girly, as we know. It talks about lesbian romance. This book is everything that I should have loved, but it just fell completely flat. Um, it was very wordy. There were a lot of descriptions, like long, unnecessary descriptions. It's not romantic, like, at all. I didn't like a single one of the characters in this book. I couldn't relate to any of them. I was not connected emotionally to any of them, and I honestly should have DNF'd this book, but I kept thinking, oh, maybe it'll get better, or maybe if I just read one more chapter. And there were little, like, promising breadcrumbs in there that made me like, okay, like, this is getting better. But then as I continued to read, I was like, nah, it's not for me. I definitely will not be continuing this series. The last book I wanted to talk about, and my favorite book, I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So, the best book I read in the month of February was Pew by Catherine Lacey. I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis off the back of the book for this as well, not because I didn't love it or I don't want to expend the energy to summarize it for you. It's just a complex book and I cannot efficiently describe the book to you the way the book describes the book to you. So, in a small unnamed town in the American South, a church congregation arrives for a service and finds a figure asleep on a pew. The person is genderless and racially ambiguous and refuses to speak. One family takes in this strange visitor and nicknames them Pew. As the town spends the week preparing for a mysterious forgiveness festival, Pew is shuttled from one house to the next. Slowly, the void around Pew's presence begins to unnerve the community, whose generosity erodes into menace and suspicion. Yet, by the time Pew's story reaches a shattering and unsettling climax at the Forgiveness Festival, the secret of who they really are, a devil or an angel or something else entirely, is dwarfed by even larger truths. Pew, Catherine Lacey's third novel, is a foreboding, provocative fable about the world today. With precision and restraint, one of the most beloved and boundary-pushing writers holds up a mirror to her characters' true selves, revealing the nature of forgiveness, perception, and the faulty tools society uses to categorize human complexities. And I think that sums this book up perfectly. This book is beautifully written. It is complex in its ideals and the way it makes you think. And as someone who, throughout most of my life, has had identity issues, the way Catherine writes about identity makes me feel seen and understood. This book is very poetic, and it has a lot of like deep hard hitters. I've actually tabbed two that I want to read for you. I shut my eyes and imagined a life in which only our thoughts and intentions could be seen, where our bodies were not flesh but something else, something that was more than all this skin, this weight. Lost in the idea of a disembodied world, one where ideas could hold other ideas, where thoughts could see other thoughts, and death couldn't end thoughts, where one remained alive by thinking and was not alive if not thinking. Somehow our bodies wouldn't hold us back the way they do here. Somehow our bodies wouldn't determine our lives, the lives of others, the ways in which one life could or could not meet the life of another. We would not have to sleep or slam doors or exist in these cells that eat other cells and die anyway. These cells we live in. That's not the only hard hitter in this book, and that's the thing that I love most about it. There's lots of underlying things in here for me. And another one is, the question arose then, did all of this human trouble begin in our bodies? These failing things? Weaker or stronger, lighter or darker, taller or shorter? Why did they cause so much trouble for us? Why did we use them against one another? Why did we think the content of a body meant anything? Why did we draw our conclusions with our bodies when the body is so inconclusive, so mercurial? If that doesn't make you think, that doesn't get you in your head and in your feelings, I don't know what will. This book speaks the things my soul wants to say. I really love about this book how Pugh as a character is everyone and no one all at once. I think that is brilliant, and I really cannot speak highly enough about this book. And that is it for me, humans and extraterrestrials. I hope you enjoyed our second video on my slice of the internet. I hope that you all are doing great. I hope that you will stick around for my reading journey. Don't forget to subscribe, comment how you're doing down below, and like the video if you like it. And I will see you in the next one. Say one more time. Say it one more time. I dare you. Relax, 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 relax. Okay.